5, 4. This episode of the Misdirected Mark podcast is brought to you by Wayward Masquerade and Dragon Baggins, the newest bag from them.
Where's the thing?
I don't know why the music isn't starting.
What's going on?
The bar bumper works, but the intro music, the aberration doesn't work. This is weird.
What's happening?
Stop breaking things.
And welcome to the Misdirected
No,
Mark
stop it.
podcast, a podcast about gaming, game mastering, and entertaining you, our listeners.
No, I haven't even turned on the camera yet.
We are explicit, and you have been warned.
I thought we weren't going to screw up the intro.
I didn't think we were either until it didn't
Totally gonna
decide not
screw
to
up the
work.
intro.
This phantom intro has been brought to you by our new location.
Oh man, you know what?
The feng shui of the show.
This
has
is the
been
part where I have to
altered.
slip on the camera. Hi everybody. We're not actually in the basement of House Misdirected like we usually are. Apparently, I need to get new intro music because there's some sort of bug that has
What?
occurred.
You've lost the intro music?
What?
Yeah, I kind of lost the intro music. Like, I went to go play it, and it didn't play, and then I went to get rid of it and then put it back on there, on the soundboard, and it wasn't there.
Hang on.
We're totally on camera now.
I
got this,
You got
man.
this? Okay, here we go.
Hang on. Just give me 2 seconds.
Phil's pulling it up. This is the kind of night that you're going to have if you're in the chat room. Just so you know. This is what's going on tonight.
All right, hang on.
I don't even know who's around. Who's around?
All kinds of people.
Yeah? Cool.
This is the Misdirected Mark podcast, a podcast about gaming, game mastering, and entertaining you, our listeners. We are explicit, you have been warned, and I'd like to thank Mike Willard for letting us use his music on our show. Now let's pick up those mics and get on with this thing. Oh yes,
Oh, yes, let's pick up those mics and get on with this thing. It's my ghost version of myself from an audio thing says that. On this episode, we're going to talk about the QCC and everything that happened this past weekend and probably talk a little bit about gaming stuff as we do that. With that, my name is Chris.
And I'm Phil.
And I'm Old Man Logan.
And I'm Nikki.
Nikki's here because she was kind enough to let us record in her house because we wanted to try a different space for once. We're going to be moving around a bit in the coming days, in the coming weeks, to see new places that we can record and how it sounds and where we can take this crazy show. So, with that, we don't really have much in the way of announcements except the Lizard King is out there.
Yes, it
Yep.
is.
That is
Yep.
a thing. I would just ask what's going on, but we're just going to talk about the QCC, right?
Yeah.
So there's no point in asking what's going on.
Nope.
Okay, cool. Just checking. I wanted to make sure we just skip that part of the show and go into that whatever other things. So the Lizard King, that is our new D&D product. You should go buy it. It's really cool. Sean Merwin wrote it as part of the Adepts program. It sells for $5.95. It takes you your characters from levels 1 to 4. It has new class options for backgrounds and feats, and there's actually a couple of archetypes in there too for the druid and the cleric. So if you're into D&D and you want to get in on that action, please go and pick that up. It is selling pretty well already, and we can't wait and hope that you get your hands on it. So with that, let's get into our main topic, I guess, which I'll just hit the bar bumper. Hey, it's the bar, where we go to chat when we don't have any other room in the house to go to. So let's see what the topic is for today. Well, and the topic for today is the Queen City Conquest, because we were all just there all weekend. It was a thing that happened. So, Phil, what are we going to talk about today concerning the Queen City Conquest? What is it? We're going to talk about overall tone and impressions of the con. We're going to talk about the games we ran, the games we played, the panels, and the people we hung out with and met. Is that about right?
I'm just going to nod since you actually just answered your own question.
Sweet.
Mhm.
Good. I'm glad. So you should nod then. Oh, okay. He's nodding, everybody. For those who can't see what's going on. For those who can see, you saw the nod. So let's start with overall impressions of the show. Phil, start us off.
With overall impression?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a good time. It was good. I thought this year was, I think much like the last couple of years, I thought it was pretty solid in terms of just general layout. I think the con people have got the layout down. It was nice. There was actually a line for a few minutes to get my badge. That was kind of nice that there was actually at noon on a Friday, people rushing to get in. So that was cool.
I thought so too.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's an awesome local convention. So, yeah, I was pretty pleased with it again, like I have been for the past couple of years, which is why we keep talking it up.
That's true. I mean, I also work for it, so there's
Yeah,
a bias
so everything
there.
you say is completely biased.
Completely and totally biased.
I sponsor it.
That's true.
I sponsor it, so actually I can, I could also be extra critical.
That is accurate. That is accurate.
Yeah. So
I guess if you sponsor it, that means I sponsor it too.
Encoded sponsors it. So
we all sponsor it.
yes. So yes, we all sponsor it, but yes, we purchase a table for use during the con.
And I ran a bunch of games at that table. We'll get into that in a little bit.
You did. I bought you a table to run at the con.
Apparently. Hey, man, I help pay for that table. I mean, I work too. I put out stuff.
Yes.
I put in effort. I feel like it's also partially on me.
No, I'll say this. This was a thing that if I have any critiques for the con, I did not like free scheduling of games. I like slots.
Really interesting.
I like slots because it's predictable, and then people can do things like, I'm going to play on my afternoon slot, I'm going to play this game, and on my evening slot, I'm going to play this game, instead of, well, this afternoon game kind of dips into the evening slot, so if I play this one, I can't play that one, that kind of thing. I, in general, do not like open scheduling versus...
I didn't realize that was actually the case.
Yeah.
You need to have scheduled blocks.
That happened with your game, Chris.
Yeah.
I hate scheduled blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dislike free scheduling, just because it creates that weirdness where
I wouldn't mind if there was so I can't stand running games at 8 in the morning anymore.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So don't.
Yeah,
But
but then you can't run a game until 1 o'clock.
Yeah, well, you don't have to run a game. You don't have to run a game at 8 o'clock. There are other people who do it.
There are. I just like the idea.
I'm not one of them either.
So here's the way that I would like to see it go. I wouldn't mind if there was that 3 block set for a day, like the 8 to 12, the 1 to 5, and then the 7 to 11, or even like the 6:30 to 10:30. I
Right.
think that would actually be a better way to do it if I was running that show.
I-
Not that I'm not running that show, but I might suggest that for next year. I would also like to see another 2 blocks that are the 10 to 2 and the 4 to 6.
I would rather. Well, see, I don't know, because that overlapping block thing is what makes the mess.
It's true.
I also wouldn't mind seeing those blocks also broken up into 2-hour chunks so that you could say, like, well, I don't want to run at 8, but I'll run, a lasers and feeling things at 10.
And we did that one year. I tend to run 4-hour games, and I'd rather run a game at 10 from 10 to noon, or 10 to 2.
The other way you can do it is have like an 8 to noon, a 9 to 1, and have like a break scheduled from 12 to 1 for the people who choose to do it earlier.
It's true.
As your meal period kind of thing. And then you start the next ones like 1 or 2 to whatever.
Yeah,
2
that's
to
not
6,
bad.
And 3 to 7.
Yeah, that's
And do the
also
same
a very
other hour
workable
block.
situation. By the way, if any of you folks who were there have feelings about that, there's going to be a comments survey coming out very, very soon in the next couple of days. So look for that.
Especially, I guess it's not as important to me in the morning or even heading into lunch. It's more important to me in the afternoon, because mornings are always fluid and people don't like to run stuff. So I would not have a problem. I guess I think of it like this. I wouldn't have a problem not taking out hours for lunch, dinner, or whatever. Like, people seem to figure out how to do that stuff at other cons, but that I don't know. It wasn't. That'll be my comment for the thing. Open scheduling is kind of messy.
It drives you crazy.
It drives me crazy in that when I want to go pick stuff and then, like, that thing is 75% good, but I can't because it overlaps with this other thing.
Cool. So is it all of your overall impressions of the con?
Yeah.
We'll just go around the table, Nikki.
I got to play some games that I've been wanting to play for forever. There was such an amazing spread of games offered this year, and I had an absolute blast.
That it?
I think it was run pretty well. I think my only real criticism was the interference of the D&D Epic to the rest of the games.
Yeah.
The announcements
Yeah.
were so loud, and I don't know how they did it because the announcements for the D&D Epic were louder than the announcements that are like, "Hey, we're ending the con."
I think they just yelled.
I actually got a little annoyed because I'm running my Dungeon World game during that period of time, and I got shushed by D&D players. Like, come on, man, I'm playing a game here.
I mean, anytime the Epic runs, so it's run in the evening before. It drowns out the room. I mean, that one. Anytime somebody runs any kind of multi-table event, because the Savage Worlds guys have done it in years past, like there's no second room big enough for the Epic.
Not yet.
So if you have meal periods, you start the D&D Epic during the meal period so that it's announced when no one else is playing a game.
Yeah, but the announcements run through the entire, like all
Most
4
of
hours.
them aren't that disruptive. The start, when they're talking for like 15
Oh,
minutes.
I must have missed that 'cause
and
I think
you're
I
like,
went to lunch.
I can't hear the person sitting next to me when I'm trying to roleplay. What is going on? We actually had to take a 20-minute break in the middle of my game. Thankfully, that was okay. But
It's not actually the worst situation I've been in. I was once at Kragnarok. I ran a Dungeon World table next to the Boffer Arena when like 40 people were fighting.
Yeah, right.
But I'm with you. The Epic is loud. They should all make them wear headphones and just speak to them on like.
I mean, so that's a logistics problem, right? Like, we don't have enough money to have enough space.
Well, I mean,
And-
that's the thing.
And that particular event is a huge draw.
Well, and it is a huge. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just it is loud.
I mean, it was supposed to only be a 10-table event, ended up being a 13-table event because that's how many people were interested in playing it. So, I mean, there's got to be a better way to do it, but we don't have enough money to get enough space right now.
the other way to do it is to get a single speaker with a board that goes into that speaker. Put the speaker in the middle of those so that you're not announcing it to the entirety of the con. You're
That
just
is
announcing
not
it
a
to that
terrible
area.
idea too. As long as
Yeah,
we
that's
have,
not bad.
as long as we have that technology on hand, which I don't know if I have a speaker for that.
Talk to me next year.
Okay, I'll talk to you next year. So, anything else, Miss Nicole?
I think I'm good.
Okay, Bob.
I had a really good time. I had my own personal issues of eating too much. I knew I was going to do it, and I knew I shouldn't do it, and then I did it, and it was a little uncomfortable a few times. But what are you going to do? You know,
That's true. What are you gonna do?
acid reflux blows. Just so everybody, you know, if you don't know, it does. It's not fun. Yeah, but gaming. I only played 2 RPG sessions. I played.
Whoa, son. Whoa. That's topic number 3.
I'm sorry.
You're gonna
Gonna have
jostle.
overall impressions.
You're gonna
Yeah,
you're gonna jostle up the routine, man.
I didn't play a lot of RPGs.
Good eye,
but
good
I
eye,
played
good eye,
a-
Becky.
played
Way to stop that from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before he
don't
just
send
sprawled.
him. Don't send him home.
Yeah. Before he just sprawled that thing out of control. Let's review real quick. Overall tone and impressions of the
Yes,
con.
overall tone and impressions.
Games we ran.
Yeah.
Games we played.
Yep.
Panels.
Yep.
People we hung out with / met.
And stuff and things.
Okay.
Which is
We
the
are
part that I'm
we are in
looking forward
part
to.
1.
All right, I'm good.
Okay.
Because then I get to make Rob Eberzado blush, but that'll be later.
That's
All right.
hence 5 people we hung out with
Yes,
/ met.
I
There
know.
you go.
That's why I have to wait.
Yes.
So I could have played more, but I was hanging out and having fun meeting people. So we'll get into that when we get to that. And,
That's kind of your MO at cons in
honestly,
particular. You don't actually rush out to game a bunch.
I typically don't say, "Oh, I'm going to look at that schedule and see what games are being played," and then go, "Oh, I want to get into that game." I just go, and then it's like, "Oh, what am I doing right now? Is there a game open? I think I'll go play in a game." And it usually works out pretty good. So yeah, Chris, what about you, man?
Overall impressions of the convention. It was bigger. It felt bigger this year than it had in previous years.
Do you know what the head count was?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'll find out soon. It felt like there was more cool stuff going on constantly. It felt like there was more of us there, and by us I mean misdirected mark folks.
I think there were a lot of misdirected
There was
mark
a lot
folks
of
there.
misdirected mark folks. I mean, I'm sure that count is somewhere in the 25-ish of how many of us misdirected mark like listeners, people, podcasters, whatever, were actually in and around. Man, I know I had a good time. I was exhausted by the end of it. It was good. It was good in a lot of ways. It was draining in a lot of ways, but it was good in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
So I guess that's my overall impressions. I mean, I got to meet and hang out with I can't talk about that yet, with some cool people.
Number 5.
I'm gonna get there. We'll get there later.
Crack that whip, Phil.
I got
Man.
I got to meet and hang out with cool people. I got to go and do some cool things with like we did some cool event type stuff.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that, or is that later?
Did you run it or did you play it?
It was things I attended.
No, then you can talk about things
So
you
like
attended.
there was some neat after hours type stuff that went
Yeah,
on,
there
right?
you go. That's fine.
Like-
Talk about some
Like
attending
on Friday
stuff.
night, we went to the Lennox, this bar and grill that Nikki has a friend there who's a really good friend there who's the bartender. But we got the back room there, so there was like 20 of us in there hanging out. We'll talk about that later from the hanging out with people thing. Saturday night we had late night gaming. That was a really cool thing over at the Hyatt. Bunch of like there was like 50 or 60 people over there just hanging out, playing games, doing whatever. Mike Beater. He's one of the guys who brought a lot of the cool board game type stuff there. He was running a lot of social deduction games that night and whatnot, and that was really
He's
people seem to be
he's
into
the
that.
Cthulhu War
Wars
guy, right? Yeah.
He's a really really cool local gamer. Him and his partner, they have tons of games, and they're really neat people. I'm not sure if they're married or not. I should actually ask sometime.
Good question.
And then Sunday we all went out to we did the dinner
Went
thing
to-
after the con. We
went
went to
Fat Bob's Smokehouse, man.
And then we were back here hanging out with other people for a while.
The
I'll
after
tell that
party-
s-
the after
I'll tell
party
that
was pretty
story
great.
later. We'll tell that story later in the people we hung out with met, I guess. So I guess like that part of the con was super cool for me because I got to run a bunch of cool games. I got to play a couple of cool games, and I got to hang out with a lot of cool people, and that's what that show is for me. Okay, let's move on to games we ran, and we'll start with I would say Nikki, but you didn't run anything. Bob, you ran some games.
I did run some things.
Yeah.
I ran my own stuff.
How'd it go?
It went well. I did a bunch of demos and play testing of my newest game called Flipping Out. Working title. I don't know if it'll stay, but I like it. And then there were several play tests and demos of Circle of Six. Tweaked some rules in there and changed a few things to try them out. Had a good time with that. And got some really good feedback on both of them. And that was all I ran, other than, hanging out.
You done?
I think I'm done.
All right. I ran Knights Black Agents on Saturday night for that crew that I tend to be running Knights Black Agents for. So that was the third time we played that. We didn't play for a very long time. We only played for about 2 hours. So we're gonna play again, I hope, at Origins, and it'll be great because then Brett will be there. I'm pretty sure because I think Brett's going to Origins. But it was Nikki and Tom Flanagan and Mike Flanagan and Tom's son Thomas was getting there. Thomas Flanagan and Rose and Ange. And was that the team? Was that the whole crew?
That's the whole
Yeah.
team.
So that was fun. They're getting to a climactic point, and they're like, "What are we gonna do with this done?" I'm like, "I'll just write more stuff. It'll be fine, and we can just keep playing whenever we get together." So that was neat. But the thing that was the really amazing thing for me all weekend was I ran a long con for the first time. I ran a Dungeon World long con called Odvex Castle. So that was 3 sessions. They were 4 hours each. I had the same 4 players for each session, and it was like a little mini campaign. Rob Aberzado was in that crew. Doc Palindrome was in that crew. That Rob Bush guy was in that crew, and I just think of her character name because Alexandra was also in that crew. Her name is her character's name was Sparrow because once we start playing, I just call people by their character names.
Yep.
It's just a thing I do. So it was a very fulfilling, very excellent, very amazing experience. And I learned a thing about Dungeon World. We kind of came up with a new thing about Dungeon World when it came to bonds. So you know how it says when you resolve a bond at the end of a session or whatever, like if it's no longer relevant or whatnot, we also came up with like evolving your bonds. So like you can evolve your relationships with the people that you've been adventuring with.
Sure.
And that's worked a lot better.
What did you just change the wording on the bond?
Well, the things that happened in the session, I would ask them at the end, like, what did your have you resolved a bond, this, that, or other thing, or did you evolve your bond? Like, is your relationship tighter or less tight now, or this, that, the other thing? So like, the wizard and the bard, the wizard being played by Doc Palindrome and the bard being played by that Rob Bush guy, they one of them saved the other one in the setup, but one of the other one thought the other one was a twit in a lot of ways. But as they adventured together, they were both the ones that were doing a lot of the gaining information and knowledge stuff. So over the course of the 3 or 4 times that we resolved bonds, they went from being like, I think he's a twit, to I think, well, he's actually pretty smart, to, oh, he's actually like my friend and my equal, and he saved me a few times. And that was a really more effective way of handling bonds than I've seen in other Dungeon World play experiences.
So just to get a grip on this, So like they got rid of their existing bond and wrote a new one.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I mean, we've done that unofficially because I did that with Bob.
You did.
Over
You
the
did.
course of.
But it didn't click into my head until I stated it that way. You know how,
Yeah.
like, that's where that evolved from, but that's where I got the idea from.
Right.
I'm like, oh, what if we, instead of resolving a bond or it's not relevant anymore, what if we evolve bonds?
Right. Because the way we used to do it was drop and create. Because it would be like, well, this bond is either no longer relevant or it completed itself. But I don't want to not have a tie to Bob.
So that's when if you state, how does it evolve, it becomes a
Yeah.
very
So
different
then I
thing.
made a new one, around that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So where are we at here?
Yeah,
so
that
was my
works.
Dungeon World Long Con. I really, really, really enjoyed that experience. Like, I've never had an experience like that at a convention before. I tried to do it the year before, but I kept getting different players for the 3 games that I ran. This time having those same 4 players, like, we all really got to know the characters, and the characters really got to be a party, right? Like, there was a lot of interactions where they would talk, and there was a lot of comedic stuff in that game, but Ovek's Castle is also a really, really strange place. So they were like, this is crazy kinds of me. Like, it was kind of gonzo-y out there a little bit at times. I also, our second session, I got to start with the end of the first session. They found the thing that they were looking for, is this little statue that they ended up calling Rook because it could talk. They wanted to call it Bob, but I said you can't do that. That's copyright infringement, like Dresden Files. So they ended up calling it Rook, but that's where we ended that first session with a cliffhanger where I was like, oh, where Rook kind of dropped the, oh, she must be in charge, and then we stopped playing. They're like, oh, that's a good mystery. I can't wait to come back and play again. The beginning of the next session, I have them running through this throne room with only 3 of the characters, and 2 of the characters, and the dwarf getting kicked through the wall by a giant stone statue with a glass arm, or a stained glass arm, and the rogue riding on its back, because why not start in media res?
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty good. That was pretty fun stuff for me. They over the course of those 3 sessions, they ended up trusting me a lot, and I ended up trusting them a lot to give me more and let me incorporate it. Like, at one point, Rob was passing me notes for like ideas to incorporate into the game, and I was like trying to slide them in as hard as I could. It was a really good experience. I can't wait to do it again. I want to do it with Urban Shadows or Apillion or another Power by the Apocalypse game, because I really like running those games. But I want to run another 3-session long con. I think that's a really good way to go about handling a convention game, so you can get a real experience.
So at Dreamation, that's actually a pretty common event. They do. They offer long con. They offer long con games, and there must have been. There were like a dozen of them. And the way it works at Dreamation is, whoever signs up for the first event has preference for for the other 2 events. So if that first group fills up and they all choose to play and they've all registered for the other 2, no one else gets into that. That's how Kate and I don't know if you've been listening to Gauntlet earlier in the spring. That's how Kate and Jason played Fall of Magic. They played a long con of Fall of Magic. And they got Fall of Magic, and they got 3 whole sessions. They got 12 hours to play through. I've actually thought if I go to Dreamation, I've actually thought about doing that for Hydra Hackers, because Hydra Hackers could easily do a long con with neighborhood creation, play a small event. Like, first session would be like character and neighborhood creation, play a small adventure. Second adventure would be probably a problem or a Hydra hack, and then followed by a problem or the Hydra hack, whichever one I didn't do. But yeah. But I mean, the cool part to that is that you get to play out the long story. The downside of it is you don't get to actually play with a bunch of different people. Right?
Really?
Well, did you? I mean, you didn't actually run for a whole bunch of different people. You ran for 4 people.
Yeah, I did the year before. It was not as good.
No, I'm not saying trying to run a multi-part adventure. I'm saying running, like, when you do a long con, you're blocking 12 hours of the con with 4 people. As opposed to if you do 3 4-hour adventures, you're talking, 12 to 15 people that you interact with. So it's less interaction. It's just you get to tell that longer story, which is sometimes harder to do with certain games.
It's true. I guess so if I was trying to demo a game, I would want to do it not the long con way.
Right.
But I don't know, man, I just wanted that experience.
I think it's cool. I mean, I think it's cool. When I saw the Dreamation, I was like, oh, I'm like, I actually think that's pretty badass. I mean, it's a bit of a time commitment, but for those handful of people, it's actually a really cool experience.
And we get a patron out of it.
Yeah, so
Can't argue that.
That never hurts.
Get us up to 360, people. I want
Thanks,
to
Rob.
shave this off.
Thanks, that Rob Bush guy. I appreciate it. So that's really me. That's what I ran over the weekend. What about you?
I ran 3 games over the course of the weekend. So I had I ran Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday afternoon. So I ran Friday night. I ran Hydra Hackers Redwater Blues with the current / maybe final someday possible version of Redwater Blues, which worked out great. The hackers had, I think, just enough time. I only trimmed like a few minutes off the end to hit the 4-hour mark. Although I'm a little nervous because I think for GauntletCon I promised to do it in 3 hours. So I'm gonna wind up taking something off of it to make it fairly easy. I may just I may thin out the. Well, I did play up the broker. I did play up the reservoir scene quite a bit, as Tony decided that his character, the community activist, had a baby, so he kept putting his backpack on as a front pack, and like they were on this heist, and he's kind of carrying around the baby, and the running joke all through the reservoir is like you brought a baby to a water heist, like yeah. So anyway, that actually worked out really
were
well.
They blue babies?
What's that?
Was it a blue baby?
In the end, yeah, because actually one of the feedback questions I got from everyone was to from right before when I play tested right before QCC was to find a way to tie it to tie that Blue Babies project in tighter to the characters. So I asked every player to name who inspired them for it, and actually that worked really, really well. So anyway, that was good, and I had my ultimate playtester in that game. So I had Senda in that game, and she gave me actually really good piece of advice for a final, what I'm hoping is maybe the final change to the neighbors mechanic. It's not even the mechanic. It's simply, and I'm going to tell Nikki this because she's playing in the campaign game. Instead of the grid the way it is now, it's 6 lines, and you write in each player's name. And then there's like a thing you can circle, like almost like the masks track for what your relationship is with them. And then on the right side, you write in your relationship to them. Are you friends? Are you family? Are you lovers? That kind of thing. Like it organically sprung up at the table. But I have noticed that in other games, people don't always quickly define like tighter relationships with each other. But by putting it on the sheet, I think it'll work really well where people will be like, oh, maybe we're family. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, we could be brother and sister or something, and write that in. And I think that will, I think that'll be the last piece that really creates that kind of cross connectivity to each player. You'll still do all the same stuff, right? You'll still be tight with somebody, cool with a couple people, whatever. It'll just be formatted like a little different, but it'll make you say like, oh, we're friends or we're rivals.
That's an excellent idea.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was a really nice. It was a really nice piece, and I got a couple other ones. Victor Wyatt gave me a nice idea, which I haven't done yet in the past, which is picks for gear. Up to this point, I've just been giving gear, but doing some picks because Victor actually said, "Why do you have guns for everybody?" Like the game hardly ever uses guns. Why does every character sheet have a gun?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah. I was like, it is a good question. I've always put it in there, but maybe I'll give the option that you don't have to take the gun and you can get something else.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do the action movie world thing where you have like 2 or 3 lists of gear loadouts and say pick one of these.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something either like a gear loadout or it's going to be something like there'll be like a mini list that'll say like pick 1 or 2 of these, and it'll be like you can have the gun or you can have an aqua coin, you could have another med kit, something like that. So anyway, played that. Redwater Blues went, I think, really well. I think the hydro hacking mechanic I hope is in its final configuration. I like this one much better. The role play was much better at the table, that kind of thing. Saturday night, I played Broken Main, and that's the first time I've run Broken Main. Busted Main. It's the first time I've run it. And actually, it was a bit bigger of an adventure than... I shouldn't say it was a bit bigger. It actually finished, but I had more things you could have done than got done.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, and I got a good tip from Victor, because I did it like as a mystery, like these pipes burst and who sabotaged it kind of thing. But Victor was like, you could do that storyline, or you could just do a storyline about relationships, about fixing the busted main, but not have like tracking down the mystery thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make a few modifications, and before I run it, I'm just going to ask people. This adventure runs two ways. I can run it for you as a mystery, or I can run it for you as kind of an interpersonal problem-solving story.
Which makes a lot of sense for the setting, because it's all... I mean, if you have a busted main, you're in trouble.
Yeah. So the question is, which way would you like it? It runs fine both ways. It's just a matter of what things I put into the game for either one. Mm-hmm. So I like that. I'm going to make a few tweaks, and I'll probably play test it before Gauntlet Con, because I have to run it one more time. I have to run it at Gauntlet Con.
Good. Maybe I'll get to play it then.
Coolest part of that, 2 of your players came up to me afterwards, and they're like, I can't wait to give Phil money for his game. It's so awesome. I want to play more.
I know. We're getting...
I'm like, I know, I'm lucky.
Yeah, we're getting to that point where I feel like Hydra Hackers is getting close. I say that, and then I'm going to take it to Metatopia, and then we will find out after... it goes like for playtesting, like the high test it's called, where like the bigwig game designers play your game. But anyway, it was fun, and I liked it, and it was the first time in a con situation, because I've done it in playtesting, but the first time in a con situation that I have run the game without a Hydra hack. Like just like it plays like a PBTA game,
Which is great.
But I did notice one thing.
What's that?
So I have a move called Come Across, which is when you use your will to get somebody to do something. It's a real simple move. It's like 2 lines. Like on a 10+, you get what you want, no strings attached. On a 7 to 9, it'll either cost you, or the GM or a word will get out. The GM will tell you which, and that's it. That's the whole move. But that move gets used constantly.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, but I think I'm gonna experiment. I have a different version of it.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why is it a problem that it get used constantly? Because
it is the hack and slash of social moves. So if you intimidate, bargain, sweet talk, con, whatever, it's always Come Across. Mm-hmm. So
why do you need another one or a different one?
I want to blow it out a little, because I want a little more detail on the after effect of the person after you've done this. So right now the 2 options are it either costs you or word gets out. But what I want to do is on the 7 to 9, you have to pick the the current mood of that person. They're annoyed with you, take a -1 forward. They quick pro quo, they want something in return. What is it? I had like 5 or 6 of them, including violent, which the players won't pick, but on a 6-, the GM decides whether the person will give you what they want or not, and picks the attitude of the person.
Okay. I'll just wait for you to finish it, because, I mean, you over-design all the time.
I do over-design, but I have run this game now so many times that I find that move to be a bit thin. And it's thin, and the frequency it gets used is enormous.
Because Defy Danger gets used all the time in Dungeon World, and it doesn't really bother me. Like, it works just fine.
I mean, I either have to word it so that I can decide what happens on a 7 to 9, but I like the idea of... I mean, first of all, I love picks. And I like the idea that you're going to pick the attitude, because the attitude will then indicate the next role-playing beat. Mm-hmm. So, like if you make Choji annoyed, you're going to roll him, you're going to rock a -1 for the rest of this negotiation.
Don't piss off the monkey.
Right. Anyway.
But I won't say anything
No, it's fine.
I won't say anything else until it's done.
I know. I got to line it up. I wrote it on a piece of paper, and I haven't actually looked at it. So the playtest group will chew on it for a bit, and we'll see if it actually needs to be there or not. But I'm willing to take a look. Anyway, I ran that. It went well. And then Sunday, over the course of the con, I don't remember what day it was, Angela had said to me that she didn't have a great experience playing Action Movie World.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
We need to fix that.
I can totally help with that. So I did. I was like, you know what? We have 3 hours at the end of the con. I can totally run a quick Action Movie World game. And I got a table of I was gonna have 6 players, but Dave flaked out on me. Dave's like, I'll be there at 2. And like 10 after 2, I find him in the video game room, and he's like, I got looped into a Mario Kart tournament. I'm like, it's fine, bro. Like, it's good. So played with 5 players, and it was really, so it was Ange, Bob, you were there.
Yep.
Ange, I'm going around the table. Ange, Bob,
Eric.
Yep.
Darcy.
Yeah. No,
No,
that was
Rockalypse.
That was
That was
Rockalypse.
Rockalypse.
Senda. I feel like there was somebody else.
Josh.
Josh was there.
Wow.
Man, why don't you just yell that? Josh is off camera. Josh,
Josh,
why don't you just yell out? I was working through the table. Anyway, but anyway, it was great. I ran my Comfort Zone adventure, which is the cop movie, because I know I can do it super easy, and I know I can do it. I could do it really fast, and I think it got a lot of laughs. Like, I think Bob died.
I had to.
Yeah, Bob died in the most dramatic
I
way.
was the thespian. I had to have a death scene.
Yeah. That's right, because Josh was the muscle dude. Now I remember your kill move. I remember Josh's kill move now, yes. Where he put the grenade in the guy's mouth and pulled the pin. It's fantastic. Yep. Oh, it was so good. Anyway.
Totally Gene Simmons them like Runaway.
Anyway, it was so it was fantastic, but it was a quick game. Like, I was like, okay, I have like 2 hours to run this game. I will give like a pretty abbreviated version of it, but I don't think we skimped on anything. I thought it played like a full story quickly. Anyway, it was good. I had a lot of fun. I will always run Action Movie World for people. Like, that's a no-brainer. Like, I throw that in my pack pretty much for every occasion. It's kind of like Senda's like Lasers and Feelings.
Who's fat Chris Pratt?
Josh.
Josh is fat Chris Pratt?
Oh,
No,
Eric
Josh was the buff one. Eric was fat
Chris
Chris Pratt.
That's
Donut
funny.
Cop.
Yeah, Donut Cop.
That's funny. Somebody, Angela, put that in there.
Awesome.
Chris Fat.
Oh, that's funny.
It was hilarious.
Oh, man.
It opened with a underground gambling bar that was under a bakery, and so everybody is in the casino, the underground casino, except for Eric, who's like ordering donuts.
Oh, that's great.
And then he stuck a guy up with a donut,
Oh, that's even better.
and had like what was his one liner? Don't make me give you a powder burn.
Yep.
It's so good.
So is that all the games that we ran?
Oh boy.
I think so.
Yeah. That's all. I ran 3.
Sounds about right.
So, Nikki, when you come back next year to do this version of the show with us, you're going to have run a game so that you can actually talk about the games you ran, right?
I run cons, not games.
You run cons, not games? So you're going to run MCon then?
Yeah.
Okay. You've heard it here, folks. She's going to run MCon, so
I
that'll
got
be
some
good.
ideas. I got some ideas for a quick, an easier way to do con.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe in the
After
after
show.
show.
Yeah, I got some ideas
Jinx,
that'll.
you'll
I
make
got
Coke.
some ideas that will. If we take
Need
out
your
one
tea.
requirement,
That's
we
true.
greatly reduce the difficulty of running this
What's
con.
the requirement?
We don't cook, or we limit the cooking. I got ideas.
I know that's crazy talk though. That's
So I started talking to Rob, and I was like, New York City's not actually that far away. You can just come up here, stay at the house, get a couple other people to come up, and we can have like mini-con.
Yeah.
That's a thing. That could be a thing. Anyways, let's move on to the next part, which is games that we played. And Nikki, why don't you start, since you haven't had the chance to say much lately?
I played Rockalypse on Friday night. That was super fun. I played with JJ's son Giovanni, Tom Flanagan, Mike Flanagan, and Thomas. That was a ton of fun. I played the MC character.
I played that character.
I relied heavily on using remixes and just all kinds of weird tech to accomplish some kind of fun things, mocking the other band, embarrassing Loki. That was amazing.
I will when it swings all the way back around. I will tell you about mine. But yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that was fun. I expected to like the game. I didn't expect to love it as much as I
I
did.
know.
It was so good.
I know. It was really good.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm really glad and super thankful to the Flanagans for sitting down and playing with us, because when we started, it was just me and Giovanni, and that would have been super cool. And
Oh, that'd have
I
been
think
weird
it would
as
have
a
been.
duet.
I think it would have been fun.
Yeah.
But as the first game that you play of that, I'm not sure I would have loved it quite as much. I liked having more voices and more ideas, and it was so much fun.
Can we say how awesome Eric Simon was like running it? Because
Amazing.
He's so good.
yeah, he did.
It's really fun.
He was fantastic.
Eric Simon's a ton of fun, but we can't talk about that yet because
Yeah, we're not
I
talking about
can
people.
talk about it because I played in his game.
You can talk to him about him as a GM.
He
as a GM.
was amazing. The next morning, I played Undying.
So good.
Oh my god!
Rob
can
ran
we
it, right?
Please play that game. Yes, Rob ran it.
I am prepared. I am prepared to run that game.
Oh, so much fun. The mechanics of it are really interesting. Most of it relies on a debt system and your blood pool, and that's just about it. It was so much fun. For anyone who doesn't know my role-playing background, I used to play a lot of vampire, a lot of White Wolf. So going from the LARP, trying to screw over everybody in the game, to being at a table where you're just kind of pulling strings to position yourself at 8 a.m. made my brain be evil and thinky and awesome, and I had so much fun. I'm pretty sure that was my favorite game of the con.
Yeah,
So-
Rob told me, he said, because he's run it before, and he was telling me the thing he did differently when he ran it for you guys as opposed to past games was that he very quickly worked hard to point you all at each other and then just let it fly.
You mentioned that to me too.
Yeah.
So we had one character who was actually my maker, and then the three other characters were all in a pack together, and we had reasons to not love the folks who were higher than us at the start of the game in the city.
You can just use all the White Wolf terms. It's okay. Your sire, the elders. I'm with you. Just
I'm working on it here, trying not to. So I we were a pack, and he starts us off with this fire, and the whatever their term for Prince of the City was stuck in his hunting grounds in the fire, and we had to get him out, and that's how we learned how you resolve conflicts in that game. And the person who was my maker was played by Seth, and Seth was a thaumaturge who had the ability to let people ignore fire, so he actually got the prince out, but we escorted him. The three of us surrounded him, and took him over to my hunting ground / I don't even know what they call it, but we got the credit for it.
Got the big sandwich.
So we got the debt for it, and we were just like, oh yeah, we're cool. And then I threw a party, and it has this really cool mechanic where to kind of support the infighting. The second level, Patrician, I think it is called. I can't really remember. The second level of leadership in the city, every playbook has a move as to how you can gain that status, but there's a limited number of people who can have that status.
Nice.
And then when somebody takes it from you, you're supposed to be that person's enemy. So like I took it from somebody, and then our other pack mate took it, and then our pack leader was played by Rob, and Rob Ward, is it? The one who played in your game, Chris?
Which one?
Rob Ward, is that who it is? Who played in your game?
Rob
Can't remember.
Bush.
Bush, there we go. He was super fun to play with. He played my pack leader. And so we had this this thing where he's like, no, I'm not letting my pack take control of me. So it was me and Rob against the other two, and it was this one giant PvP awesomeness, and it was so much fun.
Yeah, there's definitely a are we all cool PvP component, because vampire you can or not PvP, but it feels like an Undying it's a little more pointed.
I mean, I think that with a handful of people at the table, they could set it up if you had packs where there isn't as much PvP. But it is strongly encouraged,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of fun.
Which is okay. I mean, I despite my normal triggery things, if that's a table stakes thing,
Yeah.
then it's easier for me.
Yeah, all the mechanics support it, and the debt system's pretty cool as to how that resolves too. There's actually entire moves that just run off the dice or the debt system. So there's no, I didn't see any dice rolling in that game at all.
Is it the vampire game you always wanted?
It is.
Yeah, that's how that's been my same
in a
impression
lot
with
of
it.
ways.
When I in the 90s ripped out the White Wolf system and did a thing with blood and willpower, it actually doesn't look. I mean, there were no moves, of course, but it wasn't actually that much different than that.
Eric came over to get a donut from the table, and I looked at him and I was like, "I'm dying so good. Don't tell Chris, but it's totally better than White Wolf. White Wolf kind of sucks."
I know that's true.
It's
That's
90s.
right.
It's
That's
90s
right.
tech.
I admitted that you were right.
I know. I heard it.
It
I have
never
it recorded.
happens.
It's going to go on the internet.
That's fine. It can go on the internet. Then I played in a Supernatural Fate game. It was pretty good. We were actually playing characters from the show, kind of running out a season finale
Oh, okay.
episode.
And
It
then
was
they'll
kinda
start
cool.
the season again anyway.
Yeah.
the next
Yeah,
season.
exactly. That's why that show jumps the shark every year.
Yeah, like Supernatural.
Yeah,
I mean, they're
totally.
going to have a Scooby-Doo episode this year, so.
That'd be fun.
An animated Scooby-Doo.
animated
It was
Scooby-Doo episode.
good. I think Undying was just so good
Mm-hmm.
that I had such high expectations of the next game after that.
It's hard. That's hard.
And the epic broke the mood there, and that game was fun, and I'm glad that I played it. But then I played Urban Shadows with Rach in the evening, and Rob was playing in that game, and Alexandra, and then a couple.
Which Rob? There's like 3 of them at this point. I think it was Abrazado.
Rob
wasn't it?
Abrazado.
Yep.
And that was really fun. I played an Oracle in that game. And I got to be on the other side of Vampire then. We ended up going to Dracula's T-shirt Emporium
Nice.
As you do. I mean,
in
Well, why
Niagara,
not? Seems
Niagara
legit.
Falls, Canada,
Oh, even better.
where there were a bunch of vampires. And the biggest badass vampire that there was came up, and I used a move to try and like read what her fears. What was it? Not her fears. What her greatest pain was. And her greatest pain was that she spent so much time building up this city and she never got to see it in the daylight. So I kind of like flipped and extended my powers
And I
to...
think I have a type when it comes to friends. People that just like to cause all sorts of pain to other people in games. Phil, Nikki,
Tony.
Tony. Yeah.
I'm sorry that we're cooler than you.
I don't know about that, but
And so I just gave her a vision from my own head of what it looked like in the daylight and like won her over, and that was so much fun.
Did anybody cry?
No one cried. I'm sure that means you had better games or whatever, but
No,
I
just
can't.
the
nobody
living
cried.
thing
Nobody
lately.
cried in any of my games. So.
I think Senda cried in a game, right?
Oh
Senda
yeah,
cried in
Senda
the
cried
game.
in the game. That's right.
Yeah.
Kate Bullock made Senda cry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kate Bullock makes everyone cry. Apparently. I
I've,
totally want to play to see if she can get me to cry.
I have cried in character in games before, but not that game.
My black heart won't budge.
And then on Sunday, I kind of took a break from the con because it is September and I work for a high school, and that means my life kind of sucks right now. So I got a little bit of extra sleep and was lazy and had brunch with friends instead. That was my con.
There
Bob?
we go.
Go ahead, Bob. What'd you play?
I played 2 RPGs. I played Lightsabers Without Master, which was hysterical. Let's see, that was Kate, Alexandra, me, Chris, and Rob ran it. Rob Diebold. Did I get that right?
Yep, you did.
And that was fun.
Are we gonna talk about? Can we talk about this game now? Because that's the only
think
game
we-
I played
I think
too.
we can talk about this game.
It's the only
Chris,
game I
jump in
played.
with me. Yeah.
I stabbed myself in the heart at one
You
point.
stabbed yourself in the heart. You did. Oh, Josh, I'm sorry.
Josh, you were there too.
You were the swoop ganger.
Yeah, the swoop ganger. Josh is like, just like nobody remembers me, man. He's like, "Man, why am I over here?"
It's bad now that you guys did it, and before it was just me. It was a little careless, but now that you guys have done it,
I know, now
Now
we're
it's
just-
really
now-
now it's bad.
Well, I
Like,
mean, I
sorry,
wasn't
Josh.
thinking to jump
I'm
in.
re-apologizing for the fact
was
that
sort of-
those two forgot.
I was sort of typing and looking at the chat room.
Yeah.
Did you mention everybody who played in that game?
I'm pretty sure I did.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because
Except Josh.
Alexander killed it.
Alexander
She
killed it.
She's playing this Imperial assassin droid, and her and Kate hated each other.
Oh, yeah.
At the beginning, and then eventually Kate's character came to really appreciate the droid because the droid was so salty.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it was hilarious.
Nobody liked me because I basically sucked.
Because every time you rolled a stymie.
like
you rolled a
crap.
stymie like
I
4
think
times
I
in a
rolled
row.
4 stymies. It was ridiculous.
We're trying to save. Well, no, we weren't. We were there for some reason. I don't even remember what the original reason was.
We ended up. We had a mission. We didn't know what it was, and then it was get some data. And then right at the end, I said, "Okay, the data's inside your character's old lover."
Yeah, that was jerk move. So
Yeah.
I was there to save. I used to be a former Imperial Guard, and I was trying to save my. I found out that the guy that I worked for after I got out of the Imperial Guard, because I was working for the Black Sun, was a moderately deep cuts on Star Wars here. If you don't know who the Black Sun is, you actually have to know a little bit about more than just the movies. Was taken by my former boss, and they reprogrammed my former lover, and I couldn't get him to be okay by just talking to him and kissing him. So I snapped him out of by stabbing myself in the heart.
Yep.
And then I was like, "What?" And then people were like, "Why would you do that?" Like, it worked.
It sure did, and then you were gonna die. So.
Then I was going to die. Well, the whole point was we were playing a Rogue One set. So
Yeah.
the idea was that we were all going to
You were
die
all
at the
gonna
end.
die.
Yeah.
And we did.
Does Rob do that thing for Swords Without Master where he puts the third motif is already on the card and you're just trying to hit it? You ever play with him doing that?
No.
He does that. He did that for the lightsabers without master.
Yeah.
Super clever idea
Yeah.
to put the third motif as a thing that you're trying to aim at, so that you can actually kind of guide a story, especially in a one-shot format.
Yep.
What a clever way to play swords or
Yeah,
lightsabers
that's
without
cool.
master. I can't wait to get him to give me that.
Yeah.
So we were walking around talking about that game later, and I was like, so like, do you have like, because he had his eidolons were cards from
One of the Star
the
Star Wars.
yeah, the
cheese
Star Wars
track.
FFG games. The one where the Scum and Villainy one, I can't remember what it's called. The Edge of the Empire.
Okay.
Edge of the Empire cards. So I was flipping through them looking for an Eidolon to play. There's no Jedi in there. There's nothing with a lightsaber or anything like that. So I didn't think that was on the table. So I found one that had a staff. So I'm like, I'll play a former Imperial Guard because I really like some of the Imperial Guard stories I've read. So after I'm like, is it okay to play Jedi or multiple Jedi? He's like, yeah, I'm surprised nobody picked one. I was like, well, there are no Jedi in the deck. Like
Yeah.
maybe you might want to put somebody with a lightsaber or let that be known because I
Yeah.
would have loved to have walked around. Well, actually, I really like playing my Imperial Guard character, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, it was a good time. That was a great game. And the other thing I played was Rockalypse. No, I did 3 games.
I know.
Damn it.
That's why I was holding up the 3 before when
You
you,
know-
said you did 2.
It's the Alzheimer's. I'm sorry. What are you gonna do?
I mean, AARP does that to people, right?
Yes, it does. So yeah, I played Rockalypse with Eric Simon, and that was a total blast.
Was that the Norwegian death cult?
That
kitten?
was J-pop Norwegian death metal.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh man, I was the bass player, and it was. I did everything like this. Yeah, I talked like this the whole game, and then afterwards I talked like that for a while too. It was a good time.
What was good? Why is Rocklips so good, everybody?
Oh my God.
I mean, I know why I think it's good, but I haven't played it.
Here's the thing. First of all, it's a very clever implementation of the
Fate.
system of Fate. Okay, and everything is done with music. Okay, so you don't fight people with fists and swords and guns. You fight people with music, and it's clever as hell.
Yeah, the mechanics are good. I like the mechanics for it a lot.
Yep.
I mean, it's not radically too far of a drift for Fate. It's just that it breaks out conflict into a slightly different structure. So everything else is fairly the same in terms of Fate core mechanics. It's just that it changes it changes conflict into Battle of the Bands-esque kind of thing. It also gets a little crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's a lot of aspects on the table.
we
Oh, yeah.
we put a 34 shift hit on Freya.
I think we had like
Yep.
28 on Loki
Yeah.
at one point.
Yep.
Yeah, we so keep going, Bob.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the way the mechanics played up the entire theme. The people who were playing the game were ridiculously awesome. Me, Senda,
That was Darcy.
that was Darcy.
Yep.
And
Darcy's part of the convention staff.
Did Eric play that too?
Yeah, Eric
Yeah,
played.
Eric was-
Of course.
Yes.
Shh. Of course, Eric played.
Yes. I'm having trouble picturing the table now for some reason.
You got it.
Eric,
Ange.
Darcy, Senda, Ange over here,
And next
or
to
Ange
me.
over there, next to you, and Eric ran the game. Okay, good. And I hit the thing.
Put your hands on your head.
Yes.
Panda rules.
Panda rules. Yeah, everybody was like into it. Everybody was into their characters, and it was a hoot. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Good stuff.
Anything else?
Action movie world. Because, you know, what are you gonna do when Phil says let's play action movie world and Bob's gonna sit at the table?
We just hand him the thespian.
Just
Yeah,
slide the
might as well.
thespian over. I twisted it up this time though, because usually when I play the thespian, it's somebody from England who's been, on stage in London, Shakespeare and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This time I was an American who was a Broadway performer who won a Tony for Phantom of the Opera
Oh, God.
as the Phantom.
Really?
And then won an Emmy for a one-shot appearance on a TV show.
On a general,
Like a
Massachusetts general.
Massachusetts General, a hospital
Jesus.
drama. And I was like, that's my one shot at TV. I don't care about this TV and movie crap. And my agent wanted me to do this movie, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna kill you. Get me back on Broadway. So
You
It
even
was a
and
good
your
time.
dying move with the actual lines from the Massachusetts general.
I quoted my lines from Mass General. Dying.
They want to hear your British accent.
Yeah. Give Emily
Oh,
a keep going.
it's like the weakest of weak. I mean, it's
Do
like
it.
Just do it. Entertain the people. Come on. Think about it.
I hate it when I can't do
Can't
it
do
when
it on the
people
spot?
put me on the
Can't do it on
spot
the spot?
like
Okay,
that.
never mind,
I'll
sorry.
try and slip it in later. Keep your ears peeled. But one thing back to circle back to Rockalypse. I was hanging out at the MMP table, the encoded table, whatever, just kind of like chilling and looking to see if anybody wanted to play demos of my games. And then they're all like, I hear this, Bob, and I look and they're waving at me. They're like, come play a game. And I'm like, okay. I come walking over and it's like, let's play Rockalypse with us. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. And it turned out to be a blast.
Anything else? Are we good?
I'm good. Moving on.
Phil, because I talked about the one game that I played.
So, so Friday I got to play in a rather large table. I played some Swords and Wizardry. It's like I think that game was like 8 people or something, which was run by Stacy, which was it was good. It was very OSR-y, which is exactly what I was looking for. But it was well. So first of all, Swords and Wizardry is pretty tight retro clone. It's got just a couple things that are. The one thing I thought that was kind of interesting, that kind of cleaned up from past retro clones, is there was one saving throw number, and then different classes got bonuses to different situations for saving. Like I had the fighter, and I had a saving throw number, and then I got a +4 if it was saving versus magic. And then I think like Senda played the rogue, and I think she had a couple pluses for different things. But it was always just one number. Like instead of, so depending on how far back you remember, at 3.0 there are 3 saving throws. But go a step back from that, and I think Hobbs can quote me. Is it 5 or 6? Because I can. It's like paralysis, dragon breath, death. Oh, I can't remember. Hobbs is in there. He can do it.
Jim, what do we? I was looking.
All the remaining saving throws. Anyway, I thought that was nice. It simplified it. So this was Stacy's game, Zaya's Promise, which you would have liked because it was trippy like your stuff. but it was all randomly generated room to room. So every time you closed the door and opened it, there would be possibly a different room. And the rooms were really trippy. And the way that, if there was any one critique of it, the way the dice fell out, we got like almost no combat. Almost in 4 hours, almost zero combat. We had like a half of an encounter. We did a bunch of stuff, and we did, we did stuff. And we interacted with NPCs and stuff like that. But, for an OSR game, there was a surprisingly low amount of combat, but it was also completely randomized. So what can you do?
It's true.
She could have nudged it. And put an encounter or two in, but that's a preference thing. It was fine. It was the only weird part, and this is true for OSR games in general, is that it took people a little getting used to at the table. It's roll under the stat for a check, roll over the saving throw for a save. Mm-hmm. Like that could have just been fixed. There's no need. They could have just made that one option, like roll under for everything, kind of mechanic. But otherwise, it was fine. It was a big party. We tromped around this crazy thing. I failed my saving throw and had to eat these cursed sweets. And they eventually. So here's what happened. I think it was. Hang on. I will think of who. It was Victor Wyatt. Put a strength spell on me.
Okay.
And rolled, and we got and we maxed it out. I got like a +8 to my strength. I had a 16 to begin with, so I was like theoretically off the charts. So when I fail my saving throw to eat the cupcakes, I like go in the room and I start eating all these sweets, and they're like, "Well, we have to get Phil's character out of here now," and they're trying to pull me out, but they can't. They tried to hit me at one point, but my armor class was too high. So it like bounced off me. And finally, I think the way they did it was Senda ran around me in circles from a distance to get the rope all lined up. And then they like quick pulled like as a whole party and dragged me out of the room. But I played it up the whole time. So I was, yelling at the table that I just wanted to eat. And Stacy had a Swords and Wizardry book she asked everybody to sign, so
that's cool.
I actually signed mine with a quote from that scene when I was yelling about all the sweets. But yeah, so I played that. I played Rockalypse. Rockalypse was amazing. We combined two of the settings. We played Ragnarok, so the end of days, and we combined it with the high school.
Of course you did.
That was actually Senda's suggestion. We combined it with the high school one. So we were all teenagers, and our band was Viking Kittens. And the trouble for our band was we had hooked up with everybody, ourselves and everyone else. So the rule was anytime you met an NPC, somebody wanted to sleep with them, and somebody already did.
Yep.
Our group also played Ragnarok, but our comment, the entirety of the table, looked at each other and said, the only genre in here that doesn't really work with it is high school.
No, totally worked. We were teenagers aboard an abandoned cruise ship that the adults put us on to like ride out Ragnarok. So it was like college, but no classes and just bands. And so we got into our fight with the other band because Eric's character, Rain, with a Y, Rain was sleeping with the drummer from, what was it, Nothing But Sax?
If you want to call it a drummer.
Right. And they, and it didn't go well. And so Rain was heartbroken about it. And so we heard they were going to talk some shit about Rain. So at the dinner time, we showed up. So I got to use the opening act move and jumped out ahead of the band, started talking smack.
That move's fun.
And all my rhymes and all my aspects were quotes from the Misdirected Mark show. So I just kept dropping like one. Every time I created an advantage, it was just another quote from the show on the table, which was great, except for poor Darcy.
She didn't get it.
She was the only one who didn't listen. So, everyone else at the table is like dying when because at one point I got the crowd pumped up and I was like, we're explicit, you've been warned. Right? And so everybody just starts laughing. And then like, we had to like pause for a second. We're like, okay, Darcy, see, like there's this podcast and like
I wasn't even there. I didn't do anything.
I know I sent you a picture. I sent you a picture of
I
it so
did.
you could
It was
see,
pretty
so you
great.
could see some of the stuff. My character's name was Mike Drop.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. MC Drop. So yeah, it was really really fun. And it does a thing. You were asking about what's really cool about it. It does a thing that kind of that Hydro Hackers does in a way, which is it falls into a category of games where stab it, punch it, or shoot it isn't actually the option for resolving conflicts.
Yeah, so you start doing other
So
things.
much fun.
Right, like it was really fun to be like, well, Rain and Neo have this beef. His name really wasn't Neo, but we all said
Nova.
he looked like
Yeah.
Nova, but he looked like Keanu Reeves, so we all just
Yeah.
called him Neo.
Yeah.
Like Rain and Nova had this falling out, so we're gonna go down to the dinner place, the cafeteria, and we're gonna battle them. And it was just, and then it got, because it was Ragnarok, it went crazy because Nothing But Sax, which had no sax player.
Yeah, they had
That-
no saxophone
Right.
in the band, but that's what their band name was, Nothing But Sax. They had like steel drum,
A xylophone. They were all
maracas,
percussion.
xylophone.
Eric
Yeah.
was really funny. Eric was killing us with the description of his band. But the maraca player turned into Freya, and then we, when Senda delivered the final blow to take her out, she transformed into Loki. So she became Loki, and we went from Viking kittens to Loki's kittens.
Nice.
Yeah, but it was really good, and there's a cyberpunk setting for that. Like I'm like, oh man, I would totally run this game. Like it would totally be fun to play.
I got the book.
Yeah,
It's even signed by Eric, so.
yeah. It was really.
So it's
it was,
got his blessing on it.
oh, it was super sharp. I had so much fun. Eric wrote a fantastic game. Ran a fantastic game.
Yep.
And on top of that, also brought me 3 bags of Chicago mix. So
Yeah.
thank you, Eric. That was also pretty awesome. So I was really happy to get a game in with him.
He brought me a Rockalips t-shirt and a poster, but we're not there yet, so.
Yeah, no. But anyway, it was fantastic. Anyway, that was the 2 I played. I didn't get to play anything on Saturday because I could not get into a game.
It happens.
Well, I couldn't get into a game because I was scheduled like with 1 hour.
We will fix your stuff for next year, okay? Stop whining. We'll fix it.
I will do panels in the morning,
Sure.
and then I can play in the afternoon.
Oh, come on, man. I mean, I had to run a game, and I was taking care of those panels all day long.
I hear you, man. All right. So that's games we ran. That's games we played. Let's talk about panels.
Well, let's talk about panels. So at 10 o'clock in the morning, we did Play Better Games Jam for an hour.
That was fun.
In fact, all the panels that were recorded, because a couple of them got the recordings got messed up. And sorry about that, everybody. They're already on the website. They're already in the feed. If you are a subscriber to Mr. Mark, you can catch them. Real quick, the 4 panels that are up there are Play Better Games, damn it. Trad to Indie, which we'll talk about in a sec with Rach Shelke and Rob Diebold. Another one that got on there was the diversity in gaming panel, and the publishing panel got recorded too.
Yep.
That was you, Eric, and Victoria Beaver.
Yep. Vicky
Oh, cool.
Beaver.
Vicky Beaver. So, Bob took care of some of them, moderated some of them. The first one, of course, during the day was the Play Better Games Damn It panel, which is you, me, Senda, Bob, and Ange.
Yep.
I thought it was a good time.
I liked it quite a bit.
Yeah, it was. We had fun. We were being we answered a couple of questions. We weren't really. I mean, it's
us. I mean,
it's not the 2 hours that we normally do. But
you lose like 20 minutes for us to introduce ourselves, and
it's
then
true.
which is fine. Like that's
And not all of us were there. Like there was more than like Sean stopped in for a second. Wayne couldn't be. He was busy doing something else because he was there too. It would have been nice to have more of them there on the panel, but we can do that some other time. I think
Yeah.
we'll organize to actually do that sometime. Have as many of us around as we can.
It was good. There was a good question about. I think my favorite question in that panel was talking about your list of what's important in a game.
Yeah. Yeah, like that was that's the whole point of Play Better Games Down, like the list. The list is a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people mistake when we make that statement that we're telling you to play a certain type of game.
No,
but
no.
we're actually telling you to play the game that best fits you.
Yeah, and then now we have a methodology for how you can
Yeah.
sort of determine that. It's been
And some examples and stuff.
So I think that's good, and we all went through our lists in a lot of ways, like what
Mm-hmm.
makes games great for us. So then you can just extrapolate and make your own lists about what makes games great for you, and then you can find those people that you want to play with that are like that, and find those games that do those things for you.
Absolutely.
What other panels were you on? Because
I did the publishing panel.
Yeah, how was that? I didn't actually.
The publishing panel was a lot of fun. We there was like 10 people in the room, and we came at it from both being a freelancer and being a publisher. Like, because everybody on the panel has been both. So we talked about it from both sides of the, both sides of the fence, and we talked about some of the pitfalls. We didn't actually get to cover all the things. There were a couple more things we could have added on to it. But it was good. I mean, I think the advice was good. There are a couple horror stories. Everybody, the saying, every writer takes one bad at least one bad contract.
Yeah.
So there's some sharing of some bad contracts. I thought mine wasn't terrible. Mine was a pay on publication that went like 9 months before it published. But off mics, one of the, I won't say who, one of the two hosts shared their story, which I was like, well, like mine was nothing. Like mine was nothing. I eventually got some money out of it.
Yeah.
Yours was way worse. But we did talk about things like what should be in a contract. Or if you're freelancing, what should you look for in a contract? Which I think, we talked a little bit about hiring artists and free art and, pay rates. Not exactly pay rates in numbers, but, try to pay,
Yeah, try to pay people.
And
Don't
not
work for exposure.
And not 2 cents a word.
don't work for exposure.
I mean,
or if you're going to choose to work for exposure, make it your choice. Like you want to be on this project, you're willing to do it. But, my opinion is a good publisher will
Pay you
good
anything.
publisher, even if you offer to do nothing, a good publisher will still pay you something.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of not paying people 2 cents a word, paying them more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I talked a little bit about, how Matt Morrow has at times, tried to give us deals
Yeah, we
on
just,
artwork, and we're like, no,
we're just gonna pay you, man.
like, no, it's
You're-
fine. We want it. Like, we want to pay you.
Yeah, there's also a thing with that, like when you pay people to do a job, they actually do a better job, if you ask me, most of the time. And if you undercut them or like they ask you for a deal sometimes and you agree to that, they don't do the best possible work.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, I have not actually asked artists for deals. I've asked artists what they'll charge and let them say. And either I'll say yes or no, but I've never like countered with like, no, give it to me, give it to me for this much less. Like I try to, I try not to negotiate pretty hard on that.
Yeah.
The other ones are I think the other ones are easier. Writing, you can always just say what your price per word is. Editing, you can say what your price per word is. Layout, I still never really understand.
Per page, really?
Yeah. How many pages, that kind of thing.
How much, what people actually want. Like, yeah, it's really that stuff.
Yeah. So, but it was good. I liked it. It could have been a longer. It could have been a longer session. There's no end to the pitfalls of publishing. But I think for people who were interested in kind of discovering this, and there were a few people in the room who I think were starting to consider getting into some sort of publishing. Then I think we got them kind of started on the right path.
So is that good for that one?
I mean, I liked it. I thought it was.
I can't wait to go and actually like find some time to actually listen to it.
Yeah.
I plan on doing it. I was curious about it.
We're also super fortunate, by the way. I'm just gonna I'll just mention that Encoded has this, Encoded has this fortune of having 6 people in it who have all that make up the diverse set of skills you need.
It's not entirely fortune. It's partly planning on your part. Like,
No, more planning on Chris's part.
Well-
more like that scene in Ocean's 11 where they're like in the bar.
Yeah. You think we need one more?
You think we need one more guy? That's Chris
We'll get
and
one
I,
more.
right? Like
Yeah.
that moment is Chris and I. Like Chris gets the credit. Chris brought Tim I think we both came up with Arcadian. Like
I got Merwin.
right, you brought Merwin, right?
Yeah, it started out the two of you.
Which one
You
of us
added
brought-
Merwin.
which one of us brought him?
Then you brought me on.
You did, because he was a killer proofreader.
And then after you brought me on,
Really, we're like, we should get
you
Bob.
said,
I'm like,
yeah.
yeah.
John Arcadian would be great to do like art direction and stuff like that. And it's
then
like,
I was like,
all we
I-
need is a layout
And
guy.
I was like, I know a graphic designer.
No, Tim isn't
Tim
the
was
last
last.
to join.
Tim was
John-
last.
Tim,
John-
is it John or Tim?
I think John's
Tim was
last to
last.
join.
Tim was last.
Okay, I don't know. I trust Bob. I don't care.
Sometimes the Alzheimer's clears and I get perfect
All right, because it's
clarity.
funny because when I put all your guys' names down, I usually do it in numeric order, and I always put John at the end.
I'm fairly confident it was Tim that was last, but
All right, we'll saw the encoded tree in half, and we'll see. We'll count the
Count the
rings.
rings.
We'll see where that falls. But anyway, like Eric was talking about the need for, like either you're going to have to learn all this stuff yourself, or you're going to have to be able to hire somebody to do it for you. And I was able to say like, well, we have 2 editors, like we have 3 guys who can do layout, like. It's, and at that moment I realized I was like,
We have a lot of people.
I was like, yeah, we're like really fortunate.
I know how fortunate we are.
Yeah,
I mean, I've
like-
talked to enough people who do this now because this is like the thing that I want us to. Like, I
Right.
want us to be publishers. Like, we have a lot of people in the bullpen to get stuff done.
Yeah, like when we want to get something done, it's like, oh, we can just do that internally.
Yeah, we
except for art, which is fine. And I
Yeah.
did make that joke that we had talked about for a while, that we had considered adding one more partner, which was going to be
Matt.
Matt Morrow, and then we realized he would make less money
Yeah.
So
if
it's
we just
stupid.
paid him. So we love Matt.
And we want to pay people. So
We wanted to pay him, so yeah, he's
Yep.
he's like the unofficial partner because we
It's
want
true.
him to make
he's
more
the,
money.
He's the first person we often go to for art, and it's a good thing for us too because the Lizard King cover, the Lizard King,
he crushed it.
that's the best piece
crushed
he's ever done
it.
for us.
Yeah, such a great piece. Anyway, yeah, it was fun. I like that. We probably we could do a show on publishing stuff.
We
like
could.
that.
We're almost
I
to
mean,
the point. I mean, I would prefer us to have a Kickstarter done before we do that.
yeah,
so-
and maybe like I mean, we made one book. Like,
Yeah.
we can make a couple more. Yeah,
I'll still pin it. Ding.
yeah, that's fine. Anyway, that was good, and I got about half of the diversity panel, and then I had to like call my kids and get set up for Hydra Hackers. But I thought that went pretty well.
That was the one that I really wanted to do. I mean, we did that one about being better. That episode about being
Yeah.
better. I really wanted that diversity panel. I felt bad because it was for women, and there was no people of color or people of real sexual identity on that. And I don't know a lot of people like that. And then I thought about, I'm like, I should have probably just like asked Wayne to be on it because he's Asian. Like that's a thing. Like
Yeah.
also Robert Aducci. He's not a white guy.
Yep, that is
And
also true.
I was dumb. I should have asked those two to be on the panel. I'm stupid.
I think they were running, but I
think
mean,
they were-
timing wise,
but I could have asked, right? You know?
Well, and you would have restructured things
Uh-huh.
to, yeah.
So I mean, I guess that was the thing I was kind of most disappointed about. But I thought that panel came off really strong. We got boobly all over the
yeah,
place out of that.
I saw that.
That was
Boobly
pretty
boobly.
great. It was Kate and Jennifer Adcock and Senda and Ange.
Mhm.
So and they had a lot of good things to say. And I didn't ask a bunch of easy questions. I asked some pretty, I pushed at some stuff like asking things about how do you help or how do you deal with people, educating them about their privilege and how to like not be jerks about it, like some
Mhm.
questions like that. So it was fun. I actually said when I asked that question, I said, "Let's start with you, Senda." And Senda's like, "Just put me on the spot, why don't you?" So I thought that was a really great panel. I hope everybody listens to that one especially. So and there was something else. What else did we do? We did the other recording. Oh, there was the Tried to Indie. Were you there for that one?
I was there for that.
Yeah, how'd that go?
That was good. Don't ask me for super details, but they talked about the different ways that you can bring somebody along from the traditional games into the newer games, and they gave a bunch of examples. They had like a whole bunch of games on the table with them that, for the benefit of the people in the room, they could show them, and talked about some games that we've played that were amazing, like 10 Candles and Fall of Magic and stuff, and that was a really good panel.
It was good. I'm glad. Unfortunately, the writing for D&D panel, the recording got cut off 15 seconds in, so I don't know how that
Ooh.
happened. So that was Merwin and Robert Aducci. I think we're just going to have Robert Aducci on the show, and we're going to just have that conversation sometime on Down with D&D. So we'll fix that. I think that's all for panels, really, then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about cool people we hanged out with. let's go.
So
Let's
There were so many.
yeah, let's start with Bob, and we could just talk or whatever, and work our way the other way around the table.
Yeah, well, right out of the gate, because of the game that I played, Eric Simon was a ridiculously good game master for his game, and all around nice guy. We actually Friday went to grab something to eat. At one point, we went to Mighty Taco, and we had just sat and chatted and ate burritos and shit, and had a good time. Nice guy, super nice.
Simon,
Yep.
Amy stayed with me.
Yeah.
Like there were a couple of nights where we were sitting at 1 o'clock in the morning drinking tea together. And
Cool.
we're sitting in the morning at like 7 o'clock in the morning drinking tea together. It was pretty great.
Yeah.
He
He's-
drank whiskey with us on Friday.
Yes, he did. Yes, he
Nice.
did. He's a super smart game designer, super smart guy. Really savvy. I really enjoyed spending time with him.
Yeah. Hopefully, we can get him out here again next year. And
He said he wanted to come back.
Excellent. Chat room for life, people.
Oh my god.
Holy crap! Just being able to meet some of these people face to face and be in their presence rather than seeing them in words on the screen. Rob Abrazado and Eric and
The Wargata.
always good to see Wayne.
Uh-huh. I saw him one more time than I wanted to that weekend. Can I tell a story? Can
Yeah,
I
tell the story. Do the thing.
Okay, so it's Sunday night. We just went to we just went to Fat Bob's Smokehouse, the actual good barbecue place in Buffalo. One of the good barbecue places in Buffalo. And we get back to Nikki's place, and Sean Kilgore comes in, who's the marketing director of the QCC, and he's like all the like grumbly or whatever, looking at his phone. I'm like, "What's up, man?" And he's like, "Wayne left his bag and like this, that, and the other thing." I'm like, "Oh, well." Then I was like, "So Nikki, you want to go to Toronto in 2 weeks? We can just bring it back to him and go hang out and see the Hockey Hall of Fame or something like that." She's like, "Yeah, that's a great idea." And then I find out that Wayne needs to get this thing back like today or I was thinking to do that. And then Wayne's like, "I need this bag to work tomorrow." I'm like, "Well, shit. I guess I'll just drive there and give it back to him. He can meet me halfway." So Toronto's about 2.5 hours away from Buffalo or something like that. So I'm dying. I'm exhausted. I drink a cup of coffee. Luckily, thank you, Nikki decided to take a ride with me. Otherwise, I might have died on the road. We might have gotten lost for a little while by Lake Erie, and you thought I was going to drive us into a lake somewhere on this like road.
So he makes a wrong turn, and it's this creepy road right by a lake, and I'm pretty sure it was 2 directions. Like, it was not a one-way street, but there was not enough room.
There was not enough room on that street.
There's not enough room
And-
for more than one car.
and there was no lights.
And there's no lights. And it just turns, and he's exhausted. And we've just gotten another cup of coffee at Tim Hortons. I'm like, we're going to die out here. No one's going to know we were here.
And I'm like, I'm not going to drive us into the lake. I swear, unless I do. So that was. So we got there. We dropped off his bag to him. He was very appreciative of it. And then we got back here at about 11:30 at night, and I was pretty much done after that. So there's my story. Continue. Sorry.
No, that's all right.
Wait, I love you, Wayne. That's why I came and brought you your bag.
Yeah. Always great to see Ange again. Senda, of course, who flew her butt all the way out from Colorado. So that's always nice.
So she's not on the mics, but
She's not in the chat room.
well,
And
she
she's
stepped
not
out.
on the mic,
She's,
yeah.
she's what you call it? She's
Yeah.
parenting at the moment.
Yep.
So her plane got hit by lightning.
Her
Yeah.
plane got hit by lightning.
Yeah.
Where the hell were the superpowers?
So 10 minutes out from Buffalo, because if you remember, she flew in Thursday.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
If you remember, like Thursday was like these crazy ass thunderstorms, like midday. Like there were like I remember looking on the radar, and there were like these cells of them coming through, and it was like they'd hit, and then it'd clear up for a second, and then bam, the next one would hit. So anyway, Senda's flying in, and 10 minutes out from Buffalo, the plane gets struck by lightning, and it sounds like the landing gear going down, right? Like there's just like a thunk. Now, planes get hit by lightning, like that's a thing. Like planes are, designed, but all the same, planes also,
Have issues sometimes.
not 100% sure. So
Yeah.
the pilot waits like 5 minutes, and like they're on their approach to Buffalo, and the pilot's like, "Hey, in case you didn't notice, like we got hit by lightning." So
There's nothing to worry about.
yeah, everything seems okay, but there's gonna be like a whole bunch of rescue vehicles to meet us on the runway.
Don't be worried about all the emergency.
Well, that's what he says. He's like, "Don't panic." He's like, "But there's just gonna be a bunch of emergency vehicles." Now, I went to pick Send up from the airport. and I'm a little early, and I'm in the cell phone lot, which is like on the far end of the runway, and I see said fire trucks and the Southwest flight come in, and I'm looking at the clock, and I'm looking at the plane, and I'm like, oh man, like, what is that about? Like, and then like Seta texts me, she's like, I've landed, I'm safe. And then I see like fire trucks like driving away and I'm like, okay, like, all right, I'm gonna come pick you up now. Like, yeah. So, so all weekend long we were asking her where her superpowers were, because that's like how a Marvel character gets their powers, is on a plane when you're struck by lightning and suddenly.
It's true.
Yeah.
I think the lightning has to breach the container of toxic waste and splash her with it. I think that's how it's supposed to.
So, as the plane was landing, there was a dude with a thermal imager, like scanning the plane to make sure that it wasn't on fire on the
Are
inside.
there any heat
Like,
signatures besides the bodies?
yeah, as a thing.
Nice.
So anyway, that was Senda's. I hope I did it justice. She had to. She wound up having to tell it a bunch of times because she kept like running into people individually, and then would have to tell the story. So I heard it a bunch of times. I'm hoping I did it justice to tell it this time around. So anyway,
Cool.
So, who else, Bob?
Let's see. The tag folks, Rob and Rach and Kate. Good time.
I didn't really get to talk to Rach Shelkey all that much. I talked to Rob Diebel and Kate Bullock a lot. Anybody else?
I'm probably missing someone, and if I am, I apologize profusely. Especially
Tom?
if you're listening
Yeah,
right
Tom.
now. Tom, well, the Flanagans,
Uh-huh.
of course, yes. Thank you. Always good to see the Flanagans.
JJ Lanza and Giovanni and Victor were here.
Yep.
I didn't get to talk
And
to them as much
Victor.
as I wanted to, but I felt kind of bad about that. But
Yeah.
I'm glad
I
came
got
out.
you covered on that
Good,
one.
good. I'm
Yeah.
glad.
I got that one
very
covered.
glad
Thanks.
that they were able to come out. Yeah. So, what about you? Who did you run into that you thought was?
Tom and his son stayed here. That was super awesome because I love Tom so much. He's amazing.
I mean, Tom's like family, so
He is. He's very much like my uncle.
not even like family. Tom is family, so
It's true. And then Sunday night was pretty cool when we finally got back. So it was like a chat room for life
Oh my
after
God.
show in my living room.
I mean, it was way cooler for me. Like I
You were
got
there,
the whole
yeah,
2 hours.
2
You
hours,
weren't.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, shush you.
I mean,
But yeah, we come back in and Santa's like, it's like we're having a sleepover. We're having like sleepover stories. And I was like, okay. So I sit down and we just start telling everybody's embarrassing stories.
oh my God, Eric Bond's talking about what? Well, I won't say that. But
There you
never
go.
mind.
I'm gonna save Eric some level of embarrassment.
Eric,
On-
if I could tell that story, let me know so I could tell it.
at the very least that is a
Oh.
after show.
Finding out that Rob Ebersauter used to be a
Poker player.
and a poker dealer in Vegas. That was
Wow.
Atlantic City, Vegas, one of those places.
Atlantic City.
Yep.
Yeah, that was fascinating. That was super cool stuff.
We told some fun stories about Josh over there.
Uh-huh.
That was really fun.
Uh-huh.
There was
Chris was just passed out drunk. So
there was like
I
a
mean,
there was
that
like a
just-
theme of strip club stories. Like
There was
were
a theme of strip
lot
club
of
stories.
strip club
There were
stories.
several strip club stories.
Yeah, like several dozen strip club stories.
I like the one
So-
about you and your friends. One of them whose father was a police officer, and you guys went over the border with like a bunch of bullets. in
with
you.
with a glove compartment full of ammunition.
Yeah,
that's
that's good stuff.
that just adds an extra excitement to the return trip.
I'm sorry, I kind of.
I mean, for those folks listening at home, we live in Buffalo. So back in the day, you didn't even need a passport to get across the border.
It's
like
true.
you used to go over for
driver's
Chinese food
license.
because it was
Uh-huh.
better
Oh, I've done
Chinese
that,
food.
yeah.
I mean, you still do, but now
What
it's
was that
like
place in Fort
time.
Erie?
I know, I can't remember its name. It
Right?
was so good.
Just like right
Yeah.
of the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the drinking age is 19. So in Buffalo,
Which is the real reason why every teenager goes over to Canada.
when you turn 19,
There was a bunch of
you
places
go to
right over
Canada. And I mean, Canada's liquor is so expensive anyways. So while you're there, you might as well just go to the strip club, right? Like
Yeah,
get something else out of it.
if you want an overpriced Labatt's Blue
Yeah.
and see naked people, Canada's got both
Yeah.
for you. Yeah.
So
But also remember that while it was expensive, back when we were, and I say this because it was true for the longest time, so I can say this statement, and it's true for Bob, for me, and for you. Back when we were all teenagers at different times, in different decades, the American dollar was so over the Canadian dollar
Yep.
that you just you lived like royalty every time you went over to Canada. You'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm gonna take over $60, and you'd be like $100 in, like just having a blast. Oh, I used to love that.
yeah. So that is why we all have a plethora of strip club stories.
That's true.
Yes.
So many strip clubs.
Which is including you, which is
I do. I have several. Those can be for the after show too. So I don't know. I had a lot of fun hanging out with people. Hanging out at the Lennox was super cool. I think if we did that next year and we took over the back room, we should totally bring some board games with us.
absolutely.
I love that place. There's like 700 beers. There's some decent whiskey. Eric Simon kind of wins the world for teaching me things about whiskey that I didn't previously know.
Interesting.
Whoa!
Yeah, right?
Interesting.
Wow. Them some big. That's a big statement.
It is, but he gets high praise for that.
Yeah, I should probably announce the bag through the winner at some point, but I'll do it in a second. Somebody just mentioned that in the chat room.
Oh, good,
I know who it is.
good. That's good.
Go ahead, continue.
I don't know if I have anything else specifically. I mean, we all kind of love the same people, so
Yeah, it's true.
What about that Josh guy? Was he there?
I actually put that down. I wasn't sure. He says he was, but not 100%. So I got to hang out with Rob Abrasato. That was awesome. In fact, I was the one who sent him an email along with a number of other people that were like, you need to come to QCC. Like, I was on a campaign to bring people. Like, I wrote an email to a bunch of people that I had met at Dreamation because I was like, hey, this is only 6 hours away. Like, you can get here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Totally doable.
So Rob took us up on the offer. And then the thing I forgot, which I don't know, I think you guys might have been on the road. I always forget, like, I always just think it, like, I'm like, oh, I know Rob from Twitter, right? Like, I just know Rob Abrasato because I see him on Twitter all the time. But no, I always forget that we have a person in common. He used to be in Martin Ralia's gaming group.
Really?
Yeah, when Martin lived in New York City.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's how he started following me. Was he followed me like through Martin through Gnome Stew. I always thought it was the other way around because I always thought I started following him because of Senda, but as it turns out, small world. 6 degree separation kind of thing. So anyway, we took a selfie together and posted on G Plus and tagged Martin in it. We're like, Martin, your worlds are colliding, buddy. Like, Rob and I are hanging out post QCC.
That's funny.
So that was good. Eric, it was so good to have Eric because the first time I met Eric was at Gen Con 2 years ago. But it was for a game. So you don't really get to hang with anyone, but we got to play, we played Hydro Hackers. He played the Fate version. He and Victor Wyatt are the only two people who have actually played
Every version.
both versions of the game. Like in both sets of mechanics. They have like the,
That isn't one of us.
that isn't one of us.
You did actually get to hang out with Eric a little bit because we had that one stretch where we were hanging out in the bar area.
Oh, yeah.
At the one hotel.
That's right, because he came after
And he was
I was
sitting-
drunk.
Yeah, we were all drunk.
I was drunk off of the beer.
Yeah.
The Mike Drop
Eric-
We Stout.
Eric Farmer, not Eric Farmer. Who brought that?
Joe Swick.
Joe Swick.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Papa
Papa
Swick.
Schwick.
Papa Schwick.
Papa Schwick got us
Yeah.
hammered.
Yeah, I was a bit drunk. Sorry, that night wasn't quite as
Totally,
clear.
Completely drunk.
Yeah, that night wasn't quite as clear as I remember it. But anyway, but Eric, I got to play in Rocklips with Eric, which was a blast, and then Action Movie World, and then we just we adopted him for the evening. We're like, can we take him home? Like, he was just here all evening, and it was so good. I'm sure he only got like 3-4 hours of sleep before his plane.
Less. He said he got like 2.
Yeah, that's about right.
Somebody was sleeping in his bed when he got back to the hostel.
Oh no!
So he had to sleep on a couch in the common room. Poor Eric.
Yeah, he. We kept him here for a while. Rob was his ride, and Rob's like, I was like 1 a.m. He's like, probably got to get. We should probably head back downtown or something. So
I'm pretty sure it was way later than that.
I felt like it was like 2:30 in the morning. or
I
something.
don't
Oh my
know,
God, it was so late.
It was late.
It was problematically late.
But it was good.
Pro tip for next year:
Yeah.
everyone else might not have to work the next morning, but I did.
Yeah, that I mean,
I had to.
I
You'll notice
purposely
I was
took
gone
that.
when you got
I
back.
purposely took that day off.
Maybe
It
I'll
was
just move the con like 2 weeks into September.
It
That
was-
way
it was
people
wi-
can take
it was
like
a-
a Monday off or something.
it was a wise
about
move.
March?
Oh,
I mean, I'd love March, but we can't put it on the same weekend as Breakout, so
Yeah, I can't do that.
no, don't do that. I mean, put it over my birthday, sure, but not breakout.
seems legit.
Yeah. So JJ Lanza came up. I mean, JJ now I've known for 2+ years. Like, we've hung out a few times in a few different spaces. Plus, we've been collaborating on some stuff, and then got to actually meet Giovanni in person. And Giovanni's cool card game. I was like Giovanni,
I want to play it.
I'm like Giovanni, this thing could just go to drive through. Like, this is.
I
you could
totally
you could
missed that Giovanni had a card game.
Oh, it's neat. It was like this. So I'll tell this story because I can tell this without being in the after show because it'll be a good set of laughs. So it was before Hydra Hackers, and Giovanni was showing us the cards, and it's like a relationship game, and it's like one of those ones where you ask each other questions, and there's 3 decks of cards, and it's like for friends, for people who are romantic, and then for people who are sexual, like having sex kind of thing. And so I flip through and I'm looking, go through a couple cards, and I finally get to the last deck, and I'm flipping through, and I like pick one up, and it says, "Tell the other person your kink." And so then I kind of snorted and laughed for a second. And I was like, well, I guess, if you're a listener of Misdirected Mark, this might not be, I may not have to do as much talking. And then Victor commented on the very nice bag handle on my
Oh yeah, there you go.
on my game bag. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, we probably don't. He's like, nice. He's like, nice wrap on that handle, Phil. So I was like, thanks. So yeah, but
Oh, come on, Rob, you got me. Damn it. Definition
wins
Panda
the
just
chat
had
room
to
again.
define sexual.
yeah. So to be clear, I didn't mean. I meant as in people having sex, not together, not just somebody who is sexually active. But anyway,
That one
I
got me.
defined it again. Anyway,
Again.
but yeah, it was really nice to. I really like JJ quite a bit. If you have not met JJ, you should.
JJ's good peeps.
He's great. He loves playing. He loves playing OSR kind of stuff. So he played in Swords and Wizardry, and I'm totally down for playing some more DCC with him. It was good, and Victor came along with them as well, and that was great. I think Victor conned himself out like a little, like he was on the tail end of a couple cons, and made the stretch to come here, but it was awesome having him here.
Yeah.
I like Victor quite a bit.
Me too. I really wish I could have spent some more time with those 3 guys.
Yeah, I got more time with them because they hung out with me after Busted Main, and were giving me a bunch of feedback,
Oh, nice.
which was really good. It was Victor who gave me the idea of allowing people to pick which type of story they'd like. Do you want the thriller? Do you want the the more personal kind of thing? So I thought that was actually that was a really cool piece of advice. So yeah. The people I didn't get to hang out with that much, just because of the way things shook out, was Rob, Rach, and Kate. I got a few minutes right at the end of the con to hang out with Rob for a little bit. I'm going to get to see them again. I'm going to see them at Metatopia. So I was a little bummed, but I do want to, and I'll just say it here, and then I'm going to wind up contacting them later. But I think I'm going to go up to Toronto if they're up for having me up for a day or whatever, and run Hydra Hackers. I would love to. I would love to run Hydra Hackers for them, and
Cool.
and just give it a spin. Rob actually, I forgot this, and then I was talking to Rob. Rob created the local 666 in the play test he played at Dreamation.
There you go.
And now that's like a permanent fixture in the game. So, for those who don't know, the local 666 is the Devil's Plumbers, and it's part plumbers and part bike gang, which Senda then built onto. Like, she added some stuff to that. But I've decided in the book, for people who've added stuff to the game, I'm going to do these sidebars and actually credit them in the sidebar.
Oh, that's really cool.
Nice.
Because I've been collecting those. Like, Blue Babies was a Jason Pitt thing that he created from his playtest. So I'm going to just put those in this little side, little what you call it? Sidebars. Anyway, so many good people. I really, really It was really good. Even and I say all that because I just talked about all of our out of towners, but I mean there were plenty of local people like Jerry, who's in the chat room.
And he's about to leave.
Oh well, before Jerry leaves, it was awesome. It was awesome having Jerry.
Absolutely.
I saw Jerry a bunch,
Yeah.
which was great. And I saw Sean. I mean, I see Sean plenty of times,
Yeah,
but
but he was around.
it was fun watching Mark do his charity thing again.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Mark. So for those who don't know, Mark
Deface
Napick,
himself for charity.
Mark Napick let himself have his hair dyed, and for the cost of like I think it was $480.
It's a lovely shade of pink.
It is. It actually doesn't look terrible on him.
No, it actually.
I was so shocked. I was like, they
I-
bleached him. I'm like, he could have left it. They could have left it blonde. And I'm like, that would have been okay. Then they went cotton candy pink, and I'm like, no, that's good.
It
Really good.
actually looks pretty good. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I saw Tim Hannon and his
Hannon was
wife.
there.
Yeah. Sean, I got to see Sean Merwin for a few minutes. And then Rory explained to me that dot thing that's on the back of like everybody's phones.
And by the way, Rory, we're talking about Merwin's daughter, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she explained to me that dot thing. Did you see the dot thing that's like on the back of
Yep.
everyone's phones? It's like this dot that you pop out and you can like slide your fingers to hold your phone or
yeah.
use it as a stand.
Yeah.
Which seems like seriously useful, but I feel like you are like a teenage girl or something to put it on your phone.
There's
so.
some people at work who use it and love it and swear by it, but
That's why you get a case with a kickstand on it like that.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Might
I
have
like
a kickstand
my
on his
case.
case. I like my case too because it was cheap, and my phone. I've dropped that phone like 50 times.
Well, it's fine. This thing's like a $10 thing with it's got like an adhesive back. You just put it on whatever case. Like if you love your case,
Yeah.
you just still stick this thing on the back of
Yep.
it. Anyway, it seemed interesting.
QCC's gotten really cool for that reason. It's a really interesting mix. Thanks, Phil. My cat has been quiet all night.
I know,
you
but he
have
just
to
came-
pet him.
he just
you
came
have
by.
to pet him.
He just came by.
It's okay. Smokey can be on the podcast.
Okay, Smokey is now on the podcast for forever and ever.
He's my buddy.
All right. So QCC is super interesting because it's a really good mix of local gamers. There's some people who showed up at the con that I haven't seen in like a year and a half. People who used to be around gaming when I was running cons and when I was involved in the gaming club at UB, who just don't really game a lot anymore, actually came out to game. And that was super awesome to see. And I can't wait to see if we can get more of those gamers
Just talk over it.
back into the con, because I really think that a lot of them stopped coming to UBCon because after I stopped running it, it kind of turned into a fandom con.
It's totally a fandom con.
I mean, it's a great con for what it is, but it's not really like a con anymore.
Like hardcore gaming con.
Yeah, Rob has a good story. But QCC's kind of taken its place, and there's lots of people, but there's some amazing games, and there's a great mix of games at it now. So some of them are starting to hear it and come back. Like there was my one friend, all he does is play mini games now, and he was there playing some mini games and all weekend having a blast. It was great to see.
It's I mean, I think one of the things about the QCC is like it's got a pretty heavy focus on role playing games, and in the early years, earlier years because it's what is it now? It was 5 years old this year.
Yeah, I think so.
So in the first couple of years, it was heavy Savage Worlds, and Savage
and
Worlds still
D&D.
has indeed. Well, D&D's always been a constant.
Yeah.
The Savage Worlds part. I mean, they have their own room, so they're still running a bunch of Savage World stuff. But what I've really been impressed with is like this year, and Glenn said this, talking about local people that I like to game with.
Oh, Glenn was there too. Jeez.
course.
Yes.
Of course,
Yeah.
Glenn was there.
Glenn was saying he's like the number of PBTA games that are being run at this con is huge.
Well, look who
But I mean, that's what I mean. Like that's
we invited. on
right. But I mean,
purpose.
that's the cool part. Like
Yeah.
there was a little bit of everything. Like I mean, I got to play Swords and Wizardry. You played Undying. Like I mean, it was a really for a small local con. The diversity of games, like just the sheer,
I mean, Doc Palindrome was there. He ran 3 games of
Black Hack.
of a Black Hack.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of different games there.
yes,
There
Doc
was
Palindrome was another person.
yes,
that,
he
yeah.
was.
I didn't actually get to see him too much because he was like lodged in your game.
Well, also he ran 3 of his own.
And he ran 3 of his
He ran
own.
6 sessions.
Yeah.
He was in 6 sessions of play. That's that's a lot of hours.
Right.
And I mean, we didn't play them, but there was an entire room full of board gamers the entire con.
That's true.
That often spilled out into another room. So That's super cool
Yeah,
too.
we had board game tournaments. We had all sorts of good stuff.
It was a very it's a very solid con, and I mean I'm comfortable saying like if you like cons for role playing, like come to this con.
Can I talk about the people that I hung out with?
Yeah, absolutely.
In my
Please
moments?
do.
Thank you. So Friday. I'll just start on Friday. I got to pick up Eric the Weregator from the airport, and I had a sign that said Eric the Weregator Bonce.
That you didn't put a gator
I
on.
got yelled at for that. I don't see why I'm getting yelled at. I put a texture on the Weregator part.
There was no gator on that sign.
The Weregator part had a texture.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So that was awesome because I got to spend some time with. I like to talk to people like one on one. I actually talked a lot about. I told a lot of stories about me, which I don't usually do this weekend. So that was interesting to like share a lot with people about myself because I don't often do that. But I got to hang out with Eric for like a good hour before we met up for breakfast because we met up for breakfast with you, Phil, and Ange and Senda.
That was a good breakfast.
That was a
too.
really, really enjoyable place. We went to a place called Sophia's. What a great little place for breakfast. Thank you, Nikki. Then I went and let Tom Flanagan into Nikki's place, so that was cool. Got to see them for a second. Then after that, I was hanging out. Talked to. I think that's when I met. No, that wasn't then. The first time I ran into Kate and Rob was when I played Lightsabers Without Master. But then I got to hang out with them a little bit and talk to them. And they were at the Lennox on Friday night, and that's when I got to really kind of chat with some people. I chat with some people there, and that would, like Kate and Rob are fascinating people. Like they're interesting, they're fun, they know a lot about games. They're a lot like us in a lot of ways, except they're we're all kind of the same, really. We're all kind of sitting in the same space. Friday was a really good day for the most part.
When Kate started quoting you at you.
So okay, Phil, did you hear this story?
Nope.
So we're at the Lennox, and they're not very partial to Dungeon World as a Powered by the Apocalypse game. They're like, it's not really a great Powered by the Apocalypse. I'm like, what are you talking about? It does exactly what it's supposed to. They're like, it doesn't really do good stuff like with interpersonal. So I'm like, well, I mean, this is how I kind of run it. And they're like, and then Kate does the thing that I always do. She stands up, looks at me, and of course, like Simon's there, and Bonce is there, and a bunch of other listeners are there. And she goes, if you're not running the game the way it was written, then it's not really the game that as it was prescribed.
Wow.
She said that to me word for fucking word.
That's a thing.
And everybody just, I died. I was like, well,
Nice.
what am I supposed to do about that? Oh yeah, Abrazado was there too. They're kind of like us, but Canadian. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. They're a little bit more polite.
That's pretty funny.
So that happened on Friday night. I think I took a knee for myself on that one. I didn't know what to do with that.
I think
Kate actually rendered him speechless.
Yeah, that was a thing.
yeah, the shame we couldn't have gotten that on audio.
Oh, but we all have that memory burned into our minds.
Well,
now.
not Philly wasn't there.
We'll share.
I'm living
Enough
through
times.
you guys on this
Yeah.
one.
So then on Saturday, what did I do on Saturday?
Played Night's Black Agents.
We did,
at
but
night, so it
I came and
doesn't-
got Josh early that day, I think, or that was Sunday. Never mind.
You sure it was Josh?
He came here and picked up Josh, so I didn't have to.
Yeah, I'm
go.
trying to be a nice guy.
You sure?
See, Chris actually remembers Josh because
Yeah,
he's
I do.
kind.
I try to be kind. I also So we played Nice Black Agents on Saturday night, but all that day Kate has a game. It's this carnival game, and I have a copy of it now. And I was trying to figure out how to play it because there's no agenda or principles for the game yet. There's no game mastery type stuff, but I have all the basic moves in the playbooks, and not all the playbooks, but enough of them. I was trying to figure out how to run that game because I kind of want to play because it's a really fascinating game. The game is about playing circus freaks that are traveling from ghost town to ghost town in America trying to solve problems.
Yes.
And it's about dealing with the fact that
In the 1930s.
in the 1930s.
Yes.
So it's all about. And everything in the game is really a veneer for some social issue.
So I have to say, so now I'm now gonna have to ask Kate about this because the agenda and principles were the first thing I wrote for Hydra Hackers because it informed how I was going to do everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like she probably has them in her head. She's just never codified them.
Yeah, I think that's what she said to me. So I was just trying to get a feel for the game from her by asking her a bunch of questions. I also really want a copy of Lightsabers Without Master from Rob. So
that's on a website, man. You
Yeah.
just go get that.
I don't think it is. I think it's
No, it is. They sent me a link.
Oh, okay, good. I'll have to go.
Yeah,
grab
somebody
it
sent
now.
me a link. I don't think I don't remember if Rob wrote it or somebody else wrote
Nikki's verifying right now.
So
She's
I,
faster than me.
So yeah, we did the Night's Black Agent thing on Saturday night, and we were just sitting there talking and convincing and playing a game sort of and drinking. So it was a really good time just to sit there
Drinking
with
from
people.
Tom Flanagan's water bottle.
Water bottle, his water bottle. By the way,
Again?
you
Water.
need to sniff the water bottle before you drink.
Saw
from
that
it.
on Facebook.
Sniff the water bottle.
Sniff it before you
drink
sip it.
Yeah, that's Rob. That's the game that we're talking about. So Rob Aberzato. Yes, it's totally like the after show now. So Rob Aberzato. He's talking. Somebody was talking about an awesome carnival game. So that's totally Kate's game. Glenn played in it, so he could actually talk more intelligently about it. He played the strongman. On Sunday, we go to Fat Bob's, and we have this waiter who had been at the con a couple of years before, and he was like, I couldn't get there this year, and it was then you guys busted out the Billy the Waiter story because
Yep.
it was like Billy the Waiter all over again. And this kid, he looked like
Michael.
a kid. His name was Michael. He
Yep.
must have been a kid. He just started student teaching. He was talking about games he liked to play, and he was all about helping us out and being really kind to us and getting into what was going on with us. What?
And then he looks at everybody and
then
he
says,
goes, I'm
"I
a
am
podcaster.
And then we were like, raise of hands, who's a podcaster? And like half the table raises their hands. So that was pretty funny.
Oh, it was pretty.
And then everybody started pulling out cards.
It was actually pretty hilarious. Like, he's like, "Well, I have a podcast," and we're all just like, "Yeah."
So that was pretty good. I think some of my favorite moments though were like hanging out with Eric when I picked him up at the airport and talking to Rob Aberzato. Like it was cool to have him in my game the entire weekend, but it was really cool to actually have a bunch of time to sit and chat with him.
Mm-hmm.
Rob Aberzato, he said, "How are you living?" And I've never heard anybody say that before. I'm like, did you just say how you living? He's like, yeah, I did. I'm like, how you doing? How's it going? I'm like, I'm stealing that from now on. Like that is the most zen thing to say, and that is the best way that I can describe Rob Aberzato.
That's a
Dude
great
is
way to describe him.
so zen,
Yeah.
and he's so chill and he's so cool. He's just like this bedrock of calmness in a storm.
Yes.
So, I mean,
He-
he just makes you feel better by being around him.
No matter how cool you are,
Yeah, you're never,
Rob is actually like a notch cooler than you are sitting over
exactly,
there. Exactly. Yep.
That's exactly what he is. So I hope I made him blush for making me laugh, jerk. I hung out with other cool people too. Like, I got to play a game with Ben Jones. Ben Jones is Tim Jones's brother. And
Yeah.
Ben,
I saw.
Ben is
I saw them online at the
Ben is
during
a
check-in.
Ben is a listener of our show. He really wanted to meet us and hang out with us, so we got to sit and play a game and chat for a while. That was really cool. I talked to Thomas Flanagan for about an hour and a half while I was setting up for Play Better Games, damn it, about world building and things like that. Smart, bright kid.
He was in my. He played this other wizard in my Swords and Wizardry game. He was quite funny.
Yeah, he
He was
played.
very droll, like very just
Yeah,
low key and very funny.
He was really drunk when we played Night's Black Agent because we didn't have
Yeah,
a
he
Brett,
was.
and he was playing Brett's character, so he was pretty hammered. But I guess he had a good
Did he
time.
talk like Brett through the whole thing?
No, because nobody talks like Brett. there is no other Brett. Like when I talked to Brett, when Brett messaged me and asked me how the con was, like it was perfect except you, Kevin, and Emily weren't there. Otherwise, I think pretty much. I mean, there could have been some other misdirected Mark folks. Like it would have been really good if Hobbs was there and if Sean P. Kelly was there and
I
those
know.
folks. But I mean, aside from those half dozen people that weren't there, like it couldn't have been much better for me as far as seeing everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I felt pretty hard after the show was over, though. Like I was exhausted, and then
Yeah.
I had to drive to Canada, and then I was dead, and then I did something that I probably shouldn't have done, which is have like a couple of shots after we got back, and then I was just out.
Yes, you were.
Yeah. So
I don't think I've actually fully dropped yet. I think I got thrown right back into the thick of things. Like the second I went back to work, it was like I hadn't missed a beat.
well, that's good.
I got
No,
dropped.
it's not good. Like my work was shitty leading up to the con. It like the pause button came off and it was like resume suck.
Yeah.
And on top of that, all the encoded stuff I had put off until QCC all showed up on my list again this morning. Like there are like 5 new projects I have to get off. To get off and running.
We'll do this hard for 2 weeks, and we'll take a week off.
I want to take a week off.
I know.
I have not because
You get them started, and then take a week off, and I'll just carry it at that point. We'll talk about it later. We don't
Yeah.
talk about now. I think we're done, right? Like
I think we're done with this part. You want to
yeah.
go to the
Yeah.
after show?
Yeah,
Let's go to the
I
after
mean,
show.
we don't even have to do an after show. It's that time. It's 10:40.
Oh shit! Yeah, look at that. Well,
All
you
right.
got everybody got the after show.
So I don't have the thing up. to-
I do. You ready?
Yeah.
So thank everyone for listening.
Hey everybody, thanks so much.
You want me
for-
just to do the whole thing?
You know what? Just you start reading.
All right. If you're free on Tuesday evenings, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, 6:45 p.m. the Queen's time, come join us live on Twitch, where you can chat with other listeners in the chat room for life and ask us questions.
If you cannot make it to the live show, check out our podcast each week wherever you get your podcasts, and take a listen to some of the other shows on the Misdirected Mark Network, such as Down with D&D, Threats from Gallifrey, Vanished Insight, Pandas Talking Games, Cypher Speak with Darcy and Troy, the Gnome Cast, the Streets of Avalon, which is done, so we're going to be doing Avanti whenever I get off my ass and actually finish editing that, with the Wednesday Evening Podcast All-Stars, and Hobbs and Friends of the OSR. You can and should also check out some of our brother and sister podcasts. She's a Super Geek, the Knights of the Night, and the always amazing Gaming and BS.
Then leave us some feedback. You can reach us directly. Chris, who's hovering over my shoulder, at misdirectedmark.com.
That's me.
Me, Phil at misdirectedmark.com.
That's him.
Bob at misdirectedmark.com.
He's over there.
We don't have a misdirectedmark.com one for Nikki. Sorry. Check out our Facebook group. Hit us up on Twitter. Let's do the show. The show is at Misdirected Mark.
Yep.
I'm DNA Phil.
Uh-huh.
Over my shoulder is at the Light 101.
That's
Robert
true.
M. Everson and Nikki.
IT Gamer Girl.
IT Gamer Girl. Finally, please, if you want to get us with any kind of reliability, please come to the center, the epicenter of our Misdirected Mark. Damn it, people.
Good job, Emily. Good job. Totally
well,
The
got it.
epicenter of our social media empire, the G Plus community.
If you like what we do here and on other shows in the Misdirected Mark Network, you can support our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MMP. Those patrons will get access to the after show, which won't be coming out this week because we don't have one, because the whole show is an after show, pre-production show notes, musical parodies, the Pandas Talking Games bonus outtakes, D&D offerings when we get them, and other special releases as they come up. And with that, this has been a Misdirected Mark production. In fact, the 275th one of them, which is the media arm of Encoded Designs. And with that, I will say mic drop.
We out.
Oh, I got punched in the stomach.